Since 9 years of age, I was raised by a single parent, my mother. I think, Upesh, the most important thing women need to do is to believe in themselves.
Hi, viewers. My name is Upesh Jain. Greetings from the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm the host of the Exec Talk channel, a forum I started to talk to CEOs and executives about their journeys and distill their experiences and learnings for our viewers' benefit. Today, we have the honor of talking to Dr. Chhavi Mehra, Chief Medical Officer and Senior Physician at sugar.fit, an organization that is dedicated to combating type 2 diabetes. Today, Chhavi joins us from the other side of the globe, from Bengaluru, also known as Bangalore, the Silicon Valley of India. But she has had a strong association with Silicon Valley, USA, and the Bay Area in the past. Today, we will talk to Chhavi about her childhood, her time in the USA, her return to India, her projects, and her life experiences. While her journey looks like a global roller coaster from the outside, it is fraught with exemplary learning and nuggets of wisdom. This can be a source of motivation for every human on earth. Her inner strength, her discipline, her ability to shine in any environment, her ability to not relent. We will discuss this and find where it all comes from. Instead of reading off her background, we will weave that into our conversation, and you will see why. Chhavi, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to my channel, and thanks a lot for sparing time for our viewers and opening up your life to myriads of aspiring people all over the globe.
Thanks, Upesh. I'm very, very happy, and thank you for having me over. I'm ready to share, and it's wonderful that that we get to talk about these things where life-changing things, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much again. Chhavi, let's start by rewinding the clock a bit and go back to your childhood. You grew up in Ajmer, a small city in Rajasthan, in northwest India, in what we could call a typical middle-class family.
Mhm.
You were growing up as the youngest one of 6 siblings, 5 sisters and a brother, when the unthinkable happens. You lose your father when you are 9 years old, and that puts you and your family into a tailspin. Describe to me that time period from when that happened to how you dealt with the loss, got back on your feet, and then took life by the horns. Who were the people who supported you and became the pillars to your foundation?
Upesh, as you already said, since 9 years of age, I was raised by a single parent, my mother. It was a difficult time, and the struggles were unlimited. My mother had always been my universe. She raised 5 daughters and a son in a small town alone. My father's family um, gave up on her because she wanted her daughters educated, and she wanted them on their own feet. And for them, that was unthinkable. So they decided to just withdraw. She went back to work after 20 years of marriage. She was brilliant in math and English. She was a great cook. She could make outfits for all her daughters from old saris or whatever material she got. She was just amazing as a person. She was disciplined. I would see her wake up at 5 in the morning and go to work, unrelenting, come back and work at home until 9 p.m. every single day and never complain. Actually, I never saw her have a cold or a fever in all those years. At least I don't remember. She made sure all of us were highly educated. And she also, despite giving us this thing about education, she was very clear that you might have the best qualifications and the education, but what should be your priority should be believing and nurturing relationships. And that could be with family, with friends, with colleagues. Um, she would say that for that, you need to be disciplined. The most important quality that she ingrained in all of us was discipline, hard work, all kinds of skills, cooking, sewing, knitting, you name it. And she wanted her daughters to know everything. I saw it all. I saw a woman who was stripped of all financial support at the age of 37, and what grace and dignity. She went to full-time work after such a long time, but continued to be a full-time mother. So I can say that guarding us, she was teaching us skills, education, and disciplining us in a very close society. So my upbringing, or my most formative years
Mhm.
were, you know. Really an example of my mother
Looking
was
up to
my
your
example.
mother and
Yes, yes,
observing her carefully.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be tough at that stage in life. So, how did you manage to stay focused on education in the face of adversity? A 9-year-old hardly knows anything. So, what was that driving force? What traits did you develop during this trying time?
As I already told you, that she was also a very brilliant woman in math and English. And, she was highly educated, though she didn't work in the first 20 years. But luckily, we were going to a very good Catholic convent school. Ajmer actually is very well known for its educational institutes.
Mhm.
And we were in a very good school. And but with my father passing away, the nuns were very clear that we would give these girls a completely free ride through the school, provided they excelled. So we worked hard, basically, and we knew that we've got to do this. And school was beautiful. The school was not just about education, it was a very all-rounded school where music was very important. And I started my love for music from school. I Sports were there. And also, I think somewhere spirituality or human sciences were taught very deeply in that school. So I learned a lot, communication, language,
Mhm.
besides science. Then after that came the pre-medical tests, which are very similar to the MCATs in the US for getting into med school.
Mhm.
So India, like America, also has private medical schools which have very, very high tuition fees. But there is also in India another provision of government medical schools, which are actually better than private because they have a much more heavy load of
Mhm.
patients. And they're absolutely nearly free wage.
Mhm.
So my town had a great med school. And when I cleared the exams, I got into the med school in town, where again, we had nearly a free ride through the med school.
Yeah,
So schooling and education was easier because there were so many role models at home. We were there for each other, basically, all of us. There was very little outside support or influence in our lives. We were just there for each other. My,
self-contained. Yeah.
my two older sisters are also in the same med school, so there was a lot of guidance and support. And throughout my education, we
Mhm.
always had fun at home, just the six
Mhm.
of us, and life was good. Actually, I look back and I say life was fun. I learned so many. I had, 5 siblings, and each
Mhm.
of them with very different and distinct personalities. So the skill that I have of, managing so many different people and so many different personalities, and I think even patients of different kinds. I think my learning lessons were from my growing years, working with all my 5 siblings and with different personalities. So it was fun.
That is so awesome that you managed to get access to great education and had the drive not just to pursue it, but persevere and excel in it in whatever trying times those were. You also learned how to manage relationships with different personalities, mainly by interacting with your family members. So when did you move to the USA? How did you deal with that big change, leaving behind people who were so close to you and who had so much influence on you?
So, Peish, I got married to a Silicon Valley engineer and ended up in the Bay Area right after med school. Okay.
Mhm,
And though I missed India and my family and my friends back home, but I think the drive to study and learn and do something with what I had acquired in India was intense. I had to study every day after I came back to clear three of these USMLE like exams
mhm,
before I could get into residency. And I just kept going, I actually don't remember craving to go back to India then. I was just soaking up whatever America had to offer.
mhm,
Um, I I was fortunate enough to get into a residency program right in Oakland at Highland, which is affiliated to UCSF, and a great institution. It was very difficult at that time
mhm,
for foreign medical graduates to get into a residency program in internal medicine in the Bay Area. And
mhm.
but again, the stars were aligned, and I got into that.
Yeah, okay.
I had my first child while I was doing residency. And when people hear that, they go, "Oh, really?" And I don't know, because I wanted to have my first kid before I was 28. And I was very clear that whatever happens, I will manage. It was very, very hard, but nothing harder than what my mother had gone through in her life. So, again, that
Yeah.
inspiration is always there in front of me. I
Yeah.
had my
So
daughter.
you
Go
you
ahead.
balanced doing residency and becoming a mother at the same time. Wow, that's
Yes,
not easy, but your
it
focus
was
and
very,
determination,
very hard. Yeah.
especially in comparison to what your mother had faced, I guess propelled you to do that.
Yes.
So you started working for Kaiser, I believe, after you finished your residency, and you
Yes,
were in
yes,
the US for close to 13 years.
yes,
To
yes.
anybody watching you from outside, you had the perfect life, a good job, a family, as close as you can get to the American dream. So what made you then go back to India after almost 13 years in the US?
Upesh, I really loved at that point everything and everyone around me. I had an amazing circle of friends who were more than family. And I had also family there, which I was close to. In fact, you'd be surprised to know that my three siblings were in the United States and one
Oh.
was in Canada. Yeah. And my only one sibling, the oldest of all, was in India. So everybody
Mhm,
was actually outside.
mhm,
Um, Everything was fine, but somewhere, I mean, we I worked in Kaiser Fremont, as you said, and
mhm,
and my husband's startup, he was in the startup days, was in milk eaters. So it was, we had a beautiful home. My kids were growing up fine with their friends and schooling.
mhm,
But somewhere I started to feel an unrest with my own work.
mhm,
America trains you so beautifully, and I learned so much. I'll always be grateful for the bedside mannerisms, for the empathy, for the deep, deep learning, for the protocol medical practice, everything.
mhm,
But when I joined work, I felt that I was not able to use all the skills that I had learned. My
mhm,
hands were tied. If I had to refer to a specialist, sometimes I would get refusals, even though I believed that the patient required that. If
mhm,
I wanted to refer you for an MRI, there were 10 questions asked, and even after that, you might not get one. I saw people, older people in Kaiser who were coming to me and telling me, should we spend money on medication versus food?
mhm.
There was so much going on that I was not happy with really diagnosing things in a day that I had planned. That if I see a breast
Right.
lump, I know right away what the
Mhm,
diagnosis was. It wasn't happening. It was really not happening, and I started to crave to go back and practice back home because I knew that I probably had the freedom to do that when I go there. I think that is, and my mother at that point decided that she would not come to the US. She said, I've come many times. I don't want to travel anymore so far. I want to be at home. And that was also another driving force. My in-laws were getting old. My husband wanted to help them with their health. I think
Right.
all these factors contributed actually, Upesh, for us to move back. And I think that's how the move back happened. And yeah, I'm in
Okay.
Bangalore.
Yeah, quite big move, I must say. So when you landed back in Bengaluru, it was a totally new environment for you, not just in comparison to the US, where you were accustomed to a certain lifestyle, but even otherwise, perhaps professionally. So, what were the factors that made you start from scratch and still go on to doing great things in India?
Yeah, Upesh, India is a huge country, and you know what? I was raised in the north. I actually had never traveled south of Bombay, but because my husband, I just decided I'm going to quit and move back. So and my husband was then asked to continue to lead the company and a semiconductor company in Bangalore. So that's where we moved. We needed resources, and we had resources. He was doing well. We had our parents move with us. I took a year completely off because I really wanted my children to settle down well. I did not know a single soul in Bangalore. I did not have friends, and it was a huge shock leaving everybody back there. It was, but the drive was so intense that I believed that I'll make it work. I made new friends. My kids went to one of the best schools, and life was comfortable. They were, though it looks all good right now, getting accustomed to culture back home was not easy. In 2003 and 2004, when we moved back, you would not believe,
Yeah.
Bangalore was not what it was today. Forget about the Zoom call we are doing today or the
Yeah.
internet ability.
Yeah.
We didn't have a pizza place. We didn't have Chuck E. Cheese that my kids were used to. No malls, no proper theaters. Even my children loved macaroni and cheese, and that was brought from America by my friends who were traveling. It was, the roads were terrible. The infrastructure was difficult to navigate. I mean, it was not easy. But there were lots of blessings, parents were by our side. My kids could go out and play every evening, and we didn't have to check where they were. The school was fabulous where they have gotten education. I had a lot of house help. You all know that back from the Bay Area, how important that becomes. And I had somebody who could help me, drive around those difficult roads wherever I wanted to. We could visit family, friends, attend family gatherings, weddings. It was a mixture. But once I got accustomed, once I knew that, if somebody's going to come to repair my washing machine, I better wait for 4 days instead of 4 hours. I gotten used to that,
Yeah.
and profession-wise, it was amazing. 1 year off, and then I set up
And then you jump back in.
back in preventative outpatient practice, which actually was so tiny we wouldn't get patients for 2 days at a stretch, and then it grew over the years into 4 multi-speciality centers, daycare centers, where you can imagine there was everything: daycare admissions, diagnosis by radiology, by lab, physiotherapists. I mean, I can't tell you. It is just every single thing that you can imagine in a multi-speciality daycare center. Got it licensed by the national accreditation boards for lab and hospital. It's been some journey building up a team from 10 people to 500 people.
Wow.
Training everybody with a lot of human connect. So this practice was one of its kind, and it's still known. It's called RxDX in Whitefield, and it's still known as an organization that serves people with integrity, honesty, empathy, but also evidence-based medicine practice. And I think I always, once you have, once you start, going at it, and you realize people respond to you, the nurses, even the security or the pharmacist or anybody, they love what you're teaching them to basically impart empathy and love and care. They all just followed, and it's really an amazing institution. So that's what I did. As the journey in Bangalore, my kids did well at school, and Vijay did well. So I think all went on fine. Yeah.
So you literally got back into the groove, but with a lot more freedom and making your mark, so to speak. So you made your mark on the Indian medical scene. You're progressing nicely in your new environment when COVID hits in March of 2020. Being in the medical profession, how did it impact you professionally? And how did it impact your work environment? And what made you traverse those challenges and the uncertainty it brought with it?
Which I believe that for every healthcare professional, there was a world before COVID and the world after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It changed something so fundamental in all of us. It was March of 2020 when in India a lockdown was declared. The roads were empty.
Mm-hmm.
No one was going around anywhere, and there was fear, palpable fear.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what was happening. Patients absolutely stopped coming out of their houses. Clinics were lying barren. Staff started to disappear. Doctor, nurses, everybody, fear. We had 500 salaries to pay.
Mm-hmm.
We had centers to run, and there was no resource. This was I'm just talking about the early March 2020 when India really did well with the lockdown and patients didn't get too much COVID. If you remember,
Yeah.
India did very well in the
The
first
first
year,
wave.
the
Yeah.
second year, the first wave.
Mm-hmm.
But it was extremely hard. There were 21 outpatient clinics that shut down within 6 months or 3 months in Bangalore because there was no resource. There was absolutely, and you have to understand that most people in India, from the nursing to the pharmacists to the allied medical personnel, the salaries they get run their families day to day. There are no savings.
Mm-hmm.
Now I am responsible for that, right? And
Right.
there is nothing coming in. We managed with our savings for the first 3 months. And then I said, no, I really need to do something about it. Let's say 6 months later. And the only way I could do is to really go deep into research, study, and find out how to take the fear out, how to really help my own people to be able to serve others. And that really worked out because once I really and my team really worked at it, we discovered that people were ready to send us boxes and boxes of PPEs. They were ready to send us N95 masks. We were ready to do drills and education and how you can be completely safe. And in case somebody got it, what was the support we will give to our staff? So first, you have to prepare your own. And everybody started coming back to work. And then we designed programs where we took ourselves to you. Means if somebody had COVID, we had home care programs where we would have doctors and nurses, sort of see you every single day till you're out of the woods. We would send our lab personnel to your house to collect your blood every 3 days for a marker. We would actually send you medications, very, very nicely done and sent to you to your homes. You did not have to go out of the house. And if you needed CT scans, which were very important at that time, we would collect every single person who was COVID positive and bring it to our center between 9 p.m. to midnight, and do 35 to 50 CT scans every single day and send them back home. And then, basically sterilize the whole place again for the next morning. We kept doing this, and within about 6 to 9 months in 2021, we kept so many of our people out of hospitals. We didn't lose a single staff member to the Delta wave. We didn't actually lose less than 2% of patient population to COVID. We were known as people who would keep the entire tertiary care hospitals free of patients. We had oxygen concentrators to rent. We had everything that you can imagine that a person needed to work early on their COVID at home and not get to the worst state. I mean, I know that I was awarded at that time as outstanding clinician award of Bangalore. I think people
Well
were much
deserved. Yeah.
deserving than that, and I don't think I was the main, but I do believe that it was one of the best learning and that I've had. Innovate, look at how to manage yourself and others.
Right. So,
And
yeah, I mean, managing literally all aspects of the medical profession, 360 almost, right? So while being trained, being a trained physician and contributing so much to the medical field, you did not relent. You went through the COVID phase with fearlessness and much aplomb. So you always wanted to make a bigger impact and bring care and relief to the population around you. And perhaps being married to an engineer, you also had a love for technology and wanted to apply it to medicine. So how did you arrive at the idea of sugar.fit, where you currently are at? Tell us a bit more about that.
yeah, so patient August of 2020, when outpatient clinics were shutting right and left in Bangalore, the Indian government at that time approved of teleconsultations. Till then, they were being done without legal approval. And I was also working over the years as an advisor to an organization, very well-known organization, who was setting up outpatient clinics right and left in Bangalore. They needed me to work with their doctors, train them, set protocols for management. And I was giving maybe a day in a week throughout for the last 2, 3 years with them. And they shut all their centers within 3 months. They could not afford them at all. And then they approached me actually, and they said that, we need to do something virtually and we need to do it through health tech. And do you mind looking at this diabetes management or reversal program? Then I had time, because the patients were not coming too many to the clinics, and I was working on how to manage this COVID situation in my clinics. I started to then look into the diabetes reversal programs that were abroad. And I thought, to get them to India and to work in the Indian scenario. I mean, you can imagine diabetes reversal program virtually consists of basically life coaches that work with you every single day and sort of work on your behavior and your lifestyle. And I think they really get you into a mode of knowing that you can get rid of medication. And this is type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And there is also a doctor that should be there every 3 months to look at your numbers and say, okay, we can get rid of this medicine now or that medicine now and get you into a more healthier approach to diabetes. A great cause. India has 236 million pre-diabetics and diabetics. They're the diabetic capital of the world. So I really thought, this is something that can be scaled. This can be something which will be great for the community. And this would be something where my expertise could be absolutely used in every field. I have worked with technology. I helped design the telepresence or the telemedicine platform or software that Cisco was developing in 2007, 2014. Also presented on CNN about how we were doing it in the rural areas, telemedicine at that time. So I was very aware, but Indian government had not legalized telemedicine all these years, but now they did. So I said, okay, let's design a program by which we could virtually give people fitness, we could give them nutrition, we could give them guidance, we could have life coach, see them. And in India, we have, 32 recognized cuisines, if you know that. And every 2 hours that you travel by car, there's going to be a different dialect, a different, community, a different, language state-wise. So I think this country is much, much more challenging than any Western society making some diabetes reversal, where from North to South of America, the meals would be not different, the language would be English. So our life coaches today in our program are matched to various states of India. If you are from Kerala, we'll have a Keralite coach match with you because they understand your culture, your festival, your meals, and it has worked fabulously. We launched it to the public in June of 2021, and 2 years down the road, we have 25,000 people, which
Wow.
show about 70% progress. It's amazing, and I'm very happy to be able to be a part of it.
Wow.
Really.
So you set the flywheel in motion, and now hopefully it'll keep going and impacting a lot more
Wish
people.
the scaling is a challenge. The
Yeah.
scaling is a challenge. Getting coaches, and then I've set up an 8-week training for them to be like SugarFit and to give them the practicality of now using their knowledge. And in India, that our educations are less practical, more theoretical. So it's
Yeah.
not easy. Finding the nutritionists, finding the doctors, patients we have a lot, but to scale up, yeah.
Okay. Wow, that is truly amazing. So SugarFit seems to be a combination of medicine, technology, and
Yes.
sheer will to change the lives of a diverse population. A
So
very
they're
noble,
brilliant.
yeah,
They're brilliant engineers who have developed an amazing app. It's application-based virtual platform.
yeah.
I mean, I think there is still, I can say it in the world. This app is one of the best health tech app that's possible.
Yeah, people can
And
Google it and search
yes,
for SugarFit and then check it out. Okay, congratulations and a lot of luck for more success, Chhavi. Let me now shift gears and come to almost the home stretch of our interview. So, Chhavi, you came from an essentially female-centric family. Your mom was your role model. You got educated to the highest levels and achieved significant milestones in your personal life, all this while balancing a family. What is the secret, and what advice would you give to aspiring women all across the globe? What are your views on diversity and inclusion, both from an Indian and a US perspective?
I think, Upesh, the most important thing women need to do is to believe in themselves. And then they need to also dream big. Women, have a tendency to second guess themselves. You need to recognize that in you very early on and let it go real fast.
Right.
So I'll just give you a few examples of the belief that I probably had in me. I think I did. When I moved to the US, I believed that I would get research at Stanford. It's very difficult, okay? I mean, I'm sure the American graduate women who are sitting here know what I'm talking about. And I did get into their most coveted clinical research while I was studying for the USMLEs. Okay,
Right.
so I was only 24, and basically once I joined that research program, everything was the dream come true. But it started off with the belief. I could just walk in and say, listen, I am a medical graduate from India, and I can be of use, and you need to. So I would actually do the research for 4 hours, go to the library, medical library, Stanford, study for my exam, and then get picked up after my husband's work was over and come back home. And every single day I did that for about a whole year before I got into residency. The second very important quality that I think every woman needs to learn is to choose well. I say that. It could be anything. It could be a career. It could be a job. It could be a partner. That can only happen when women are not needy. Okay? You can choose well only when you're not needy.
Correct.
When you value yourself. So having self-worth confidence, you have to start practicing it from young.
Right.
Another quality that I have learned very late, Upesh, but I wish women learned it
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
better, is negotiation skills. I think I'm still learning them.
Yeah.
I hope the
No,
young
but
women.
these are very valuable,
Yes.
words of wisdom.
Yes.
They seem very apparent, but a lot of the times,
Yes. So,
you know,
the young women of today need to master negotiation
right.
for parity,
Hmm.
with men,
Hmm.
in the workplace. It could be for also for a role or a compensation, doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Okay. But that can also come when you know your worth, right? You can only negotiate when you know your own worth.
Correct.
And women really need to practice that. Somewhere the second guessing does not does not let you find your worth. And I think that is something which is very important. Discipline is something I learned from my mother.
Hmm.
Okay. And that has taken me throughout life as my strongest value.
Hmm.
Okay. And I think this discipline of knowing that every single day I have to get up and that's how my next 12 hours look. And
Hmm.
I'm full of energy at the end of the day also is
Managing
something
your time. Yeah.
yes, yes, managing your time, being organized,
Hmm.
knowing when is your fitness, knowing when is your work, knowing when is your time with your children, knowing that family and children are my priority. But that can only happen when I can juggle work, fitness, meals, children all equally. And I think you can. I really believe you can. Probably only possible if you're organized. The more organized you are,
Okay.
that's discipline for me, being organized. I sometimes feel that being a witness to loss at a very young age
Hmm.
and to see everything bloom out of the ashes,
Yeah.
it's left me with a lifetime of optimism. People ask me, why am I so optimistic? But I think it's left me with this amazing optimism.
Hmm.
And my mother would, on all the values of discipline and organization that were drilled in me, I think came from my mom. I don't think even in the US, I ever ordered a dinner out or gave my children any heated frozen food. I cooked for them every single evening. And I think you can, if you really believe in it, it'll happen. And
That's
I
amazing.
raised
Yeah.
them as I was raised, So
That's really amazing, Chhavi. So
yes.
Chhavi, I'd like to really thank you for your time today. I wish I could keep on going and talk to you, but we're sort of out of time.
That's
Oh my God, what a journey! And what advice and what learnings you've shared with us today. I can only imagine what it must have been to actually go through it. I
yeah.
know a lot of viewers will get the hope, optimism, inspiration, and motivation to apply to their lives. I wish you the best of luck for future endeavors and that your work transforms lives and impacts society in the way you want to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Upesh. This has been my pleasure. Thank you very much.